One of the things we love as artists is to find a good, unique find on something to use as a different substrate. And I was in Restore and I found these flat pencils, which at the time, of course, the pencil part has no appeal for me, but the slick flat surface of this does. And because I like to decorate lots of tiles, small or large, this was reminiscent of that for me, and I knew this is something I would use. I already know that I'm creating some of these to go into my window boxes that are in my pagoda outside. One of the benefits of doing these very fun projects ahead is that if I was so inclined to attack my window box today, it would mean I would have to paint it. Then I would have to do all of these, and then I would have to do all my tiny little tiles and scrounge up all my gems and jewels. And what I find is when I actually get to the window box, which is the big project, that's why I like to have already pacified the muse, as I like to say. And I've already contributed some things to being done already to that bigger thing that I'm going to focus on later. So I took these pencils and I used papers of mine and put words on them, and then I'm going to embellish them a bit further. I've done them with alcohol ink, and I'm going to show you just how quickly you can do that. This one says, always have a thirsty heart. I like to mix big words with small words, again, because if I didn't know I wanted them in the window box, I just don't know, I don't want to run out of whatever kind of interchangeable ideas I come up with. So I'm going to put these out of the way. And one thing with finding things like this is it reminds us we can use curtain rods, old fence boards, skinny or little spindles from stairs. You can alcohol ink them, put words on them, and then use them for something bigger. The other thing you can do is get your words out of magazines. You can cut out phrases you like out of magazines as well. And that works well too. I happen to print all my own words, and I'll explain that to you a little bit later. I know people are familiar who come to my classes that I have a lot of words that you can use to put onto whatever you would like to enhance. So basically all I did was take alcohol ink and just coat these. Now I am using, on these, I used Dandelion, Shell Pink, Eggplant, and Pool. Sorry, I did not clean these off for you today. I don't tend to have clean alcohol inks, probably because I use them so much. Now, this is what I'd like to show you. Because I have curves and everything on here, I like to just take my hand by putting a bunch of ink and then rolling this. And it gives me a much quicker coverage. Again, we're not trying to hurry through it, but if we can, go a bit quicker on some steps, maybe that's something we like to do. I will enhance these later by just putting a bit more ink, letting it sit there. But right now, I just want to get them covered. Normally, when we work with tiles or anything to do with alcohol inks, vases, or otherwise, we normally change our gloves very frequently because we do not want this mass of color to keep going on what we're doing. Because if you introduced red right now and did this, you would end up with a multicolored sort of muddy mess like what I'm doing now. But for the sake of this project, having all these colors on my hands, you can do it this way, lends itself to covering fairly quickly on a cylinder kind of surface. And then you can always go after and just make them a little more interesting, which is what I did with those. I spent time after just enjoying the process of putting more deeper colors on. That's something you can certainly do at your leisure. I'm not making them too dark because, of course, I want to add some words. And so if it goes a little too dark, then I just add a little more and take a bit of color out. You want them to be pretty. They don't all have to be the same, but you can see by those ones sitting up above here that tonally they'll all match whatever I might wish to do. So these are kind of dry already, and if you knew that you wanted to use both sides, then for this next step you would perhaps put words on both sides. Because I know already what I'm going to use this for, I'm only doing the one side. So we're going to let that sit for a moment, and what I do is I order this Mylar sticker paper through Amazon, and it looks yellow, but that's just the backing. It's really very clear, and it pulls back in a manner like this. And this one is made for my laser printer. So if you have an inkjet, of course, you would order it for that kind of a printer. You certainly don't want to mix these up, because I did one time and I had a disaster and I had to buy a new printer. Because if it's the wrong kind of paper, it's going to stick to your roller. I go into public domains, words people say, famous quotes, anything that I like to do with anything inspirational, and I print them on here. And then I also print bigger on a sticker paper also, and it looks like this. You can go to the dollar store and buy 20 sheets of white sticker paper and put your words on it, and I sometimes use these if this is too dark. I prefer the see-through so that I can see my actual colors underneath the words. But sometimes if I've gone too dark, then I make sure that I have something that is in white. And of course you can cut it out in two sections like I did here. I don't even know if you can see it. It says, I dream of painting, and then I paint my dream. So I cut the words, of course, with their backing. And I'm going to take this one, Dance Like No One Is Watching, and we do cut it out with the backing. And then we're going to just peel it back. And I have a nice kind of empty spot here, and I am going to put Dance Like No One's Watching right there. And that gives me a nice little phrase. I'm cutting another one that says dance is the hidden language of the soul. That way when I'm sitting out in the pagoda, if I want to stop and read any of the window boxes, it's going to have some inspiration for me. Now, when I did these ones, as I mentioned, I went back in and I heightened the color by adding, just laying down more ink and just letting it run. You don't want to put ink over the sticker part that we did because it'll lift it, but you can certainly add, you know, more color here as you see fit. Now, I bought these wonderful little dots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of extra heavy semi-gloss, matte, whatever you had on hand. And I am going to adhere these dots to add a little bit more interest. Just going to reach for a little brush. Just to add a little more interest to some of these. Now, a person might think that because these have a lot of stickiness on them, that it would be fine, but don't go by that. I've learned from experience that it's much better to take the tiniest little bit, and I'm just going to, just to enhance, I'm going to put this little dot on top of that little piece of glue. And this is how I add just an extra little element of some fun to things that I do. And I will go along and, you know, put a few of these, and when I am finished, I will take a runny gloss gel or matte, whatever I decide at the time, and I will coat the whole little strip because I don't want it to be unprotected. The chance of something falling off is slim, but you just don't know. So you can see it's quite muted, but it does add a nice little element on there. And this one too. And what I'll do is go along and add some more. And this is heavy. I wouldn't need to have it this heavy, but I'm just going to show you. This is all I do after with the runny gel, is I just coat right over these because I have stuck kind of a sticker paper on it. I don't want that paper to be lifting off, and so that's why I coat everything. And I would let this dry, and then I would coat the other side, and then I would just go along here and get this too. Just to protect the alcohol inks also. But you don't need this heavy one for coating. I would use the runny gloss medium. So we'll come back and see them all decorated in a moment. Here we are back with all these little beauties, and I love them. They turned out so pretty. And I ended up doing one other little thing. I have these borders that I collect. Whenever I see them, I purchase some. They are fabulous because they peel off very, very skinny, like this. And in fact, I took one of these and you can see this one is plain on the side groove, but I did take this one and I took a little black strip like this and I just place it again just for a little bit more fun and outlining the thing. These are sticky. These ones I put on without glue under, and then I will cover it with that gel. And you want to hold it here and snip it just a little tiny bit back of the edge, because if it wrapped around it, it would probably peel off. So that just added a nice little definition to this one. And I wouldn't put these edgings on all of them, but I find that putting the edging on some will just benefit. So I would go along and maybe do this one because it's pale. And then a couple of them will show up more. Now, these do come in gold, but I felt the gold would be too light on here. But if you do have a chance, I would really suggest picking up things like this because they can be incorporated to so many things. So there we have it. I would like to just say, again, if you didn't want to use these on a flat surface like my window box, you could tie a little string around them and you could have it hanging on the wall, and then if you put sayings on both sides, you know, for a month or two you can leave it hanging this way and then you can flip it over. So many wonderful things we can do with found objects. A quick little look at the window box that I finished making for my outdoor pagoda. You can see that the strips work very, very nicely on the wood surface, and I just used normal tacky glue and or super heavy gel medium to glue the pieces in. And what I love to do is to take old jewelry and kind of place it between whatever it is I have painted, be it sticks, tiles, and it just adds a nice little sort of bling to my object that's going to be outside. So this gives you an idea. You can put it on, you know, boxes, plant pots, as I might have mentioned before, mosaics, anything, mirrors, and it's just a fun project to do.